Why is it so important to be able to make young people aware of equality and inclusion at such a young age now, instead of them figuring it out later on in adulthood?
For any organisation, it's important that there are succession plans in place. And succession planning always involves people that are younger than us, or people that are coming through in terms of their career. So that in itself is important to identify at that stage. And then how we create those opportunities for young people, especially the younger generation coming through. They want to be able to see themselves in certain positions. And the only way that we can do that is, yes, there's an education around it, giving them an opportunity to learn more about the subject or be involved in parts of the subject. But equally more so, what's really important is that we are creating the best path possible for them to be able to engage in such a complex subject that they feel confident enough, but also at points they feel ready enough to be able to engage. So if they're talking about it at a real young age, when they do get to a point where they want to make it a job, it's a natural progression. And I think you'll find that they will come with far more empathy, again, that word, empathy, into their roles because they've grown up with it. And again, going back to the piece around learning, if they are surrounding themselves in that learning environment whereby they can pick up or engage with different people groups at a younger age, when they get to an older age, or when they, as they progress, as they get older, they want to move into some of these spaces and spheres, they themselves will find the transition far easier, but also they would have already had a very, whether it be basic or advanced understanding of individuals and how they function in different environments. That's the bit for me that we should never lose when it comes to diversity and inclusion, that ultimately we are working with people. We're not working with numbers, we're not working with statistics, we are working with individuals. And if you can understand individuals, then you are halfway or more than halfway, able to have an impact within the role as diversity and inclusion, but any role that involves people.
Absolutely. I love that point. And also, it's really important to be able to give young people opportunities to interact with each other and have those available to them. What does Leicester City Football Club provide as opportunities for young people, whether that's to develop their careers or just be able to have a safe space for them to interact with one another?
So at Leicester City Football Club, we work really closely with our charitable arm, Leicester City in the Community. And Leicester City in the Community run a number of projects and programmes within Leicester and Leicestershire across three strands, which are health and wellbeing, education and community engagement. The programmes that they deliver and run are specifically targeted to work with young people and older people in those communities. So whether it's combating isolation with the elderly, right through to working in local schools to ensure that you've got young people who probably don't function as well as others in a school environment, they've got that support that's needed, and that could be accessed within the school or outside of the school during the holiday time. As a football club, it's also important that we support and we work alongside Leicester City in the Community, but we also understand we've got a part to play as a football club. So much of the work that we do does relate to our supporters on match days, equally non-match days. And it's ensuring, again, we provide those safe spaces for people on a match day so they know that they can come to the game and experience the game, whether they are a wheelchair user or have hidden disabilities, that there is an understanding that they will need adjustments made for them at the game. And equally away from the game, we want to create those safe spaces for people to be able to experience Leicester City off the field. So for example, at the fan store, we have specific hours. So we have autism hours, we have dementia hours, where people can come and shop and engage with Leicester City, but they do it in such a way that adjustments have been made, understanding some of their needs. So for people with autism, we know sensory overload is really something to understand. So lights might be dimmed, music is turned down. It's not just on a match day that they engage with us, but it's also the day to day, and we feel, or we worked really hard as a football club and also Leicester City as a charitable trust to be able to create spaces and opportunities for people to engage with at any level.
Wow, that's brilliant. Literally all these things happening, and I'm just like, that's amazing.
Just a few.
I love that. I love how involved you are in everything and representing all of these different communities. I just think that's great. Obviously, with catering to so many different communities, there obviously is going to be difficulties with catering to every single one of them. Every person has its own individual needs and biases, and also just internalized belief, like you're talking with autism or people of color or women as well in the sports sector. How important is it to be able to create equity in those communities and allow people to, again, feel like they're in a safe environment?
Sports for everyone, and that is the simple, that's really the simple message, that sport doesn't discriminate. People can play sport at different levels, whether that's participation, whether that's competition, whether that's at the elite level. So we need to understand that we can and we should be creating safe spaces, or spaces for people to be able to engage with sport, regardless of ability, regardless of adjustments that need to be made. We can make those adjustments really, really easily, and we can include people to be able to engage in sport. I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel coaching football in different countries, and sport doesn't have a language. Everyone understands the rules of sport, and it's really, really easy for people to engage, especially with football. We can overcomplicate sport sometimes, especially in the local communities or at grassroots level. We can really overcomplicate it, and what that does, it puts up barriers. It removes that equity, or removes that accessibility for people that want to be able to engage in sport. And long term, we don't know the damage that it does for those individuals. So at early stages, it's really important that we include. At middle, at mid stage, it's important that we include. And then long term, actually we've created a real strong foundation for individuals to know and to see and to understand that sport has a place for me, regardless of regardless of what adjustments need to be made for me. Sport will always have a place for me.
I love that. It is so true that sport doesn't have a language, and anybody can be a part of it, whether that's actually playing for a team or working behind the scenes. How can young people be able to engage and be inspired to be able to take on those future roles and be those future leaders, especially in the sports sector?
I've got a 9-year-old boy who loves football, and his dream, as is every boy's dream at 9, is to be a football player. And one of the things he said to me probably a couple of months ago, he was like, "Dad, if I don't make it as a footballer, I can work in football just like you." And for me, that was almost like a light bulb moment, in that as someone who represents him, or someone that looks like him, someone that is close to him, for him to be able to see someone in that position working at a football club is really, really important. We cannot underestimate representation in those spaces. If young people see individuals that they can connect to, that look like them, that understand them, that are from where they are from, and you're able to relate to that, that in itself opens a door for them as an individual to say, you know what, I can make it within the sport because that individual has made it.